Josie Duggar today died after lone battle with cancer. Jim, Bob, and Michelle break down in grief. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. For Duggar family latest news update, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. It was a heartbreaking day for the Duggar family and their fans when news broke that Josie Duggar, the youngest member of the Duggar family, had passed away after a courageous and silent battle with cancer. For years, Josie had remained largely out of the public eye, but now, her untold story has emerged, and it has captured the hearts of many. A shocking announcement. The Duggar family, known for their large and tight-knit clan, is no stranger to facing hardships in the public eye. However, nothing could prepare them for the tragedy they would face on this fateful day. Josie Duggar, at just 24 years old, had succumbed to a long, private battle with cancer, a disease that she fought with immense courage and dignity, far from the prying eyes of the public. The news came as a shock to many who were unaware of Josie's illness. While the Duggar family is often seen as a beacon of strength and faith, this was a moment that would test their very foundation. Jim, Bob, and Michelle Duggar, Josie's parents, were left devastated, unable to put into words the pain and heartbreak they were feeling. The silent battle. Unlike other family members who often shared their personal journeys with the public, Josie chose a different path. From a very young age, she had dealt with health issues that kept her in the spotlight, but as she grew older, she made the decision to step back. Most fans of the family were aware of Josie's premature birth and her early struggles with health, but few knew that she was privately battling something far more sinister. The decision to keep her cancer diagnosis out of the public eye was something that Josie made with the support of her family. Josie had always been known for her quiet strength, and she preferred to keep her personal life just that, personal. While the family was going through this painful journey, they shielded Josie from the media frenzy that usually surrounds their lives. Josie's cancer journey was one marked by silent suffering. She fought her illness with the same quiet determination that had always defined her. It wasn't until she was too weak to continue that the family began to quietly rally around her. Jim, Bob, and Michelle, ever the supportive parents, were there with her every step of the way, their faith in God never wavering. Josie's strength and courage. What made Josie's struggle even more poignant was her resilience. Despite her diagnosis, she never sought sympathy. Those closest to her often described her as a young woman who put others before herself. Josie's deep faith in God was her anchor throughout the battle, and it was that same faith that gave her the strength to fight as long as she did. In the rare moments she did speak about her condition, Josie's words were full of hope. She found comfort in the belief that her journey, while painful, was not in vain. She believed her suffering would bring her closer to her faith and that, in the end, it was all part of God's plan. Her family, who knew the gravity of her illness, stood by her with unwavering love. Despite the difficulties, Josie found moments of peace in the love and support of her parents and siblings. But as her health worsened, it became clear that she would not be able to fight much longer, a family in mourning. When Josie passed away, it was as if the Duggar family had lost a part of their very soul. Jim, Bob, and Michelle Duggar, who had spent years raising their children with love, faith, and discipline, found themselves at a loss. Their beloved daughter, who had survived so much in her young life, was gone today. In a statement released to the media, Jim, Bob, and Michelle spoke about their grief, sharing their heartbreak with the world. "Our hearts are shattered," they said. "Josie was a light in our lives. She brought joy to every room she entered. Her strength and her love will never be forgotten." They described Josie as a woman of faith who loved fiercely. Despite the family's public persona, Jim, Bob, and Michelle made it clear that Josie's passing was a deeply private and personal loss, one that would take time to heal. Josie's siblings, too, were devastated. For all the love and joy that they shared as a family, this was the hardest blow. Josie had always been a pillar of support for her brothers and sisters, and now, they were left to mourn her untimely passing, the Duggar family's tribute. In the days that followed, the Duggar family came together to honor Josie's memory. A private memorial was held, where family and close friends gathered to celebrate Josie's life. The service was a beautiful reflection of Josie's legacy, a young woman who, despite her struggles, lived with grace and humility. Jim Bob and Michelle took a moment during the memorial to speak about their daughter's impact on their lives. Josie's love for God and her family was evident in everything she did, they said, their voices breaking with emotion. She touched lives in ways we will never fully understand. The family also spoke of the impact Josie had on her siblings. She was a loving sister who always made sure we were taken care of, said one of Josie's brothers. Even when she was in pain, she put others first. That's who Josie was, a nation in grief. While the Duggar family mourned privately, the news of Josie's passing quickly spread. Fans of the Duggar family, who had followed their story for years, were also deeply affected by the news. Josie had been a part of their lives for so long, and they, too, felt the weight of her loss. Social media flooded with messages of support and condolences, with fans sharing their memories of Josie and expressing their admiration for her strength. Many expressed how much they had appreciated Josie's quiet nature and the way she lived her life, without seeking attention. "I'll never forget the way Josie handled everything with such dignity and grace," one fan wrote. "She was an inspiration, and her legacy will live on moving forward." The Duggar family's healing journey. For Jim Bob and Michelle, the road ahead will not be easy. Losing a child is something no parent should ever have to experience, and yet, they are now left to navigate a world without their beloved Josie. Despite the sorrow that has enveloped their family, the Duggars have made it clear that they will continue to honor Josie's life. They have vowed to keep her memory alive by living out the values she held dear: faith, family, and love. In the wake of Josie's passing, the Duggar family has promised to continue supporting one another through their grief. They have been through so much together, and now, they will lean on each other more than ever before. A legacy of faith. Josie Duggar may have left this world too soon, but her legacy will live on. Her quiet strength, her love for her family, and her unwavering faith will continue to inspire all who knew her. She may no longer be with us in body, but her spirit will live on in the hearts of her family and all those whose lives she touched. As the Duggar family continues to heal, they take comfort in the knowledge that Josie is now at peace, surrounded by the love of God. They find solace in the hope that one day they will be reunited with her in heaven. The Duggar family has always been about family, faith, and togetherness. Now, more than ever, they will hold these values close to their hearts as they navigate the difficult road ahead. Jinger Duggar and Jeremy Vuolo. A marriage in shadows. Jinger Duggar had always been known as the free-spirited daughter of the Duggar family. Growing up under the watchful eyes of Jim Bob and Michelle, her life had always been carefully controlled, every decision scrutinized, every step planned. But when she met Jeremy Vuolo, she saw a chance to breathe, to live a life on her own terms. Their courtship had been idealized: the shy smiles, heartfelt conversations, shared faith, and dreams of a family together. For Jinger, Jeremy represented love, understanding, and the promise of escape from the rigid walls of her upbringing. She married him with hope sparkling in her eyes, believing she had found a partner who would cherish her for exactly who she was. In the early years of their marriage, life seemed idyllic. They moved to Los Angeles, a world away from Arkansas, raising their 2 daughters in a home filled with laughter, faith, and the little joys of ordinary family life. Jeremy's ministry work grew, and Jinger pursued her passions, writing and speaking about her experiences. But somewhere along the way, the harmony began to crack. At first, it was subtle. Jeremy spent long hours at work, often missing family dinners. Jinger, committed to her children and her own projects, tried to understand. She reminded herself that this was the man she loved, the one who promised to stand by her side through every challenge. But the distance grew. Jinger began to feel an emptiness she could not explain. Conversations that once flowed effortlessly now stumbled into awkward silences. She tried to speak to Jeremy about her feelings, her fears, the weight of her isolation, but his responses were often brief, distracted, or deferred. "I'll listen tomorrow," he would say, and tomorrow never came. The Duggar family watched from afar. While they respected Duggar and Jeremy's decision to move to California, they were not blind to the cracks. Jim Bob called occasionally, offering advice in his own well-meaning but sometimes overbearing way. Michelle would send messages of concern, encouraging Duggar to pray and seek God's guidance. Jill, Jessa, and Jana reached out with empathy, sensing their sister's growing sorrow, but Duggar often masked the depth of her pain. Inside their home, the tension escalated. Duggar's heart ached with loneliness, even when surrounded by her daughter's laughter. Jeremy's passion for his ministry had become a barrier between them. He was physically present but emotionally distant, consumed by the expectations of others, the public persona of a pastor, leaving little room for vulnerability. One evening, after another day filled with unspoken words and subtle disappointments, Duggar found herself sitting alone in the living room, her youngest asleep upstairs. Tears fell silently as she whispered into the empty room, "I just wanted us. I just wanted love." The silence of the house mirrored the silence in their marriage, a silence that had grown louder than any argument could ever be. As months turned into years, the weight of unmet expectations and unresolved conflict began to erode the foundation of their relationship. Simple disagreements became painful confrontations. The love they had once celebrated seemed to fade into a series of compromises and unspoken resentments. Duggar found herself longing for emotional intimacy, for a partner who could see her heart, not just her role as a wife or mother. The Duggar family's occasional visits could not bridge the gap. Each time they left, Duggar felt the void even more acutely. She began journaling, trying to capture her feelings on paper. Pain, confusion, longing, and a grief she could not voice aloud. Jeremy, too, struggled, but his struggle was wrapped in silence, pride, and the weight of expectation. He loved Duggar, but he could not break the barriers that his ambition and preoccupations had built. The breaking point came quietly, almost imperceptibly. A misunderstanding escalated into a series of nights spent in separate rooms, conversations reduced to logistics about children and schedules, intimacy fading into memory. Duggar's heart, once full of hope, now carried a persistent ache. She prayed, sought counsel, and tried everything within her power to reconnect, but the emotional distance had become a chasm. Friends and close family began to notice the change. Jill and Jessa called late at night, gently probing, offering support. Michelle sent encouraging messages, reminding Duggar of her strength and resilience. Yet, no external reassurance could heal the internal fracture. The life Duggar had dreamed of, the loving partnership with Jeremy, was now overshadowed by longing and quiet sorrow. In moments of solitude, Duggar reflected on her childhood, the years spent under strict rules and rigid expectations. She realized that, even now, patterns of control and unmet emotional needs had subtly shaped her marriage. Her desire for independence clashed with Jeremy's sense of duty and ambition, creating a persistent friction that neither could fully resolve. Jeremy noticed too, of course. There were moments of guilt, fleeting awareness that the woman he loved was suffering silently beside him. He tried small gestures, a planned date, a heartfelt note, a shared prayer, but the cracks had deepened beyond repair. Both loved each other, yet love alone could not overcome the distance that time, circumstance, and unmet expectations had created. The culmination of years of quiet heartache arrived on an ordinary Sunday morning. After a particularly tense week of misunderstandings, miscommunications, and emotional exhaustion, Duggar realized that the marriage she had once believed in could no longer sustain her heart. Tears streaming, she told Jeremy with trembling voice, I need us to be honest. I cannot keep living in this silence." Jeremy, equally emotional, struggled for words. He loved her, always had, but the truth was undeniable. Their paths, though once intertwined with hope and promise, had diverged. The realization was devastating. They were committed to each other out of love, yet incapable of bridging the emotional distance that had grown insurmountable. Over the next weeks, they navigated the painful process of redefining their relationship. Counseling sessions, heartfelt conversations, and family support helped them come to terms with reality. They continued to co-parent their children with care and love, but the dream of the marriage they had envisioned was gone. The Duggar family, while saddened, respected their honesty and offered unwavering support. Jinger's heartache was profound, yet it also carried lessons in resilience, self-awareness, and the complexity of love. She understood now that sometimes love is not enough to mend what life's circumstances have strained. Jeremy, too, faced the painful truth that devotion alone cannot overcome distance, unspoken needs, and the demands of life. Years later, Jinga would look back at this period with a mixture of sorrow and gratitude. Sorrow for the loss of the marriage she had once dreamed of, and gratitude for the children, family, and experiences that had shaped her into a stronger, wiser woman. The Duggar family, ever present, continued to provide love and support, reminding her that even in heartbreak, a joyful home. Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar's family celebration. Jim Bob Duggar woke up to the soft glow of the early morning sun streaming through the windows of their Arkansas home. The aroma of fresh coffee mixed with the faint smell of breakfast baking downstairs, a tradition Michelle loved to keep alive. Today wasn't just any day, it was the celebration of their 40th wedding anniversary, and the Duggar house buzzed with quiet excitement. Michelle moved gracefully around the kitchen, humming a familiar tune while flipping pancakes. Her eyes sparkled as she glanced at the framed photos lining the counter, memories of their children growing up, family vacations, birthdays, and everyday moments that had stitched their lives together over decades. "Jim Bob, can you help me with the pancakes?" she called cheerfully. Jim Bob appeared from the hallway, a warm smile spreading across his face. He wore his usual casual shirt and jeans, but today he had a twinkle in his eye that matched Michelle's happiness. "Of course, Michelle. I wouldn't miss helping you on our special day," he said, taking the spatula with a laugh. Their children began trickling into the kitchen one by one. Josh, Jana, Jill, Jessa, Jinger, and the rest of the Duggar siblings all brought with them small gifts and homemade cards. The younger ones, with sleepy eyes but bright smiles, crowded around their parents, eager to share their excitement. "Mom, Dad, look what we made!" Josie exclaimed, holding up a large handmade banner that read, "Happy 40th Anniversary," in colorful letters. Everyone cheered, and Jim Bob laughed as Michelle's eyes welled up with happy tears. After breakfast, the family gathered in the living room, decorated with balloons, flowers, and twinkling fairy lights. The atmosphere was warm, filled with laughter, chatter, and the occasional giggle from the youngest Duggar children. Jim Bob and Michelle took their seats on the sofa, holding hands, while the children lined up to give their speeches and blessings. "Mom and Dad, thank you for teaching us the importance of faith, love, and family," Jessa said earnestly, holding her younger siblings' hands. "We're so proud of both of you and grateful for the life you've built for us." Jinga stepped forward, her eyes glistening. "You've shown us what it means to support one another, even during tough times. Your love has been our guiding light." Michelle smiled warmly, squeezing Jim Bob's hand. "We are so blessed to have all of you," she whispered. The family then played a series of games and activities that Michelle and Jim Bob loved. From trivia about family memories to simple relay races in the backyard, laughter echoed throughout the house. Jim Bob, known for his playful competitiveness, cheered on the children as they raced, occasionally teasing them with good-natured jokes. Michelle, equally playful, joined in the fun, ensuring no one missed out on the joy. Later, the family gathered around the dining table for a special lunch. The table was adorned with fresh flowers, candles, and all of Michelle's favorite dishes. Everyone shared stories about past vacations, funny mishaps, and memorable moments that reminded them of the strong bond they shared. Jim Bob recounted a story from the early days of their marriage, causing the room to erupt in laughter at his humorous exaggerations. As the sun began to set, the Duggar family moved outside to enjoy the warm evening. A large bonfire was set up in the backyard, and the children roasted marshmallows while Michelle handed out cups of hot cocoa. The sky turned shades of pink, orange, and purple, reflecting the calm and joyful mood of the day. Jim Bob and Michelle sat together near the fire, holding hands and watching their family in awe. "I can't believe how fast time has gone," Michelle said softly. "It feels like just yesterday we were starting this journey together." Jim Bob nodded. "Yes, but every moment has been worth it. We've built something beautiful, a family that loves and supports each other no matter what." The evening ended with a surprise video montage prepared by the older Duggar children. It included clips from family trips, birthday parties, and candid moments of joy. Jim Bob and Michelle were touched, laughing, crying, and reminiscing about the memories they had created. The montage concluded with messages from grandchildren, each sending heartfelt wishes and hugs to their grandparents. Before bed, Jim Bob and Michelle took a quiet walk around their property. The air was crisp and cool, filled with the scent of blooming flowers. They reminisced about the past, spoke about their hopes for the future, and reflected on the love that had carried them through 4 decades. Back inside, as the children settled into bed, Jim Bob and Michelle sat by the window, holding hands and watching the stars. "Thank you for being my partner in everything," Michelle said softly. "And thank you for making every day brighter," Jim Bob replied. With hearts full of gratitude, love, and happiness, they ended the day feeling closer than ever. It was a simple yet perfect celebration, proof that joy, laughter, and togetherness were the true pillars of their life. The Duggar family's home remained filled with warmth and love, a sanctuary where memories were treasured, and every new day promised more laughter, more blessings, and more reasons to celebrate. Jim Bob and Michelle went to sleep that night, hearts overflowing with happiness, knowing that they had nurtured a family rooted in love, faith. The next morning brought the usual sounds of laughter and bustling activity, but now with a renewed sense of celebration in every corner. Jim Bob and Michelle started the day with quiet reflection and gratitude for the life they had created together. Their love, unwavering and steadfast, continued to inspire their children, who in turn carried the legacy forward with care and devotion. Throughout the week, the Duggar home remained a hub of shared moments, simple dinners, family prayer times, board games, and storytelling sessions. Neighbors and friends who visited could not help but notice the warmth that radiated from the family. The love between Jim Bob and Michelle was evident in every gesture, the way they looked at each other, the gentle touches, and the constant encouragement they offered one another. On Sundays, the entire family attended church, where Jim Bob and Michelle led by example, showing kindness, patience, and unwavering faith. Their children admired them not just as parents, but as role models who exemplified love and devotion in everything they did. Even as years went by, the love story of Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar remained an anchor for the family. Their home continued to be a place where laughter echoed, hugs were plentiful, and memories were cherished. Every anniversary, every birthday, and every ordinary day became a celebration of love, family, and the blessings. Through it all, one truth remained clear. Happiness was not in grand gestures or material wealth, but in the love shared between family members, the joy found in small moments, and the faith that bound them all together. Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar had built more than a house. They had created a home, filled with warmth, laughter, and endless love. And as they sat together each night, watching their children grow and their grandchildren play, they knew that they had lived a life well-loved, a life full of meaning, and a life that would continue to inspire happiness for generations too.